December 29th, 1916, St. Petersburg, Russia. Grigori Rasputin, the man they call the Mad Monk, though he was never actually a monk, a Siberian peasant who rose to unimaginable power through one extraordinary ability. He could stop the Tsarevich Alexei's hemophilia bleeding episodes. The young heir to the Russian throne suffered from the genetic blood disorder. Any injury could kill him. Doctors were helpless, but Rasputin, with his hypnotic stare and mysterious methods, could somehow make the bleeding stop. And for this miracle, Tsarina Alexandra believed he was sent by God, gave him unlimited access to the royal family, trusted his advice on everything from medicine to military strategy to government appointments. Rasputin abused this power spectacularly. He drank heavily, cavorted with prostitutes, accepted bribes, influenced the Tsar's decisions during World War I, and all of Russia watched in horror as this unwashed peasant with tangled hair and a beard full of food scraps controlled their empire. The Russian nobles despised him, blamed him for Russia's losses in the war, believed he was destroying the monarchy from within. And they knew, if Russia was to survive, Rasputin had to die. And so a conspiracy formed, led by Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the richest men in Russia, along with Grand Duke Dmitri Pavlovich and politician Vladimir Purishkevich, and on the night of December 29, 1916, they invited Rasputin to Yusupov's palace, told him there would be women and wine, and Rasputin, who never refused debauchery, accepted. The conspirators prepared everything in the basement of the palace. Wine and cakes laid out on the table, but those cakes were laced with potassium cyanide, enough poison in each cake to kill 5 men instantly. The wine also poisoned with massive amounts of cyanide, and they waited. Rasputin arrived just after midnight, sat down, and began eating and drinking. He ate one poisoned cake, then another, drank glass after glass of poisoned wine, and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. He sat there talking, laughing, asking for more wine, completely unaffected. The conspirators were in the next room, listening in horror. How was he still alive? How was this possible? They had used enough poison to kill an entire family, and Rasputin was sitting there eating cake and asking about the women Yusupov had promised. 2 hours passed. Rasputin consumed enough cyanide to kill 20 men, and he was fine, perfectly fine. Getting drunk maybe, but not dying, not even sick. And Yusupov was panicking. This was impossible. The poison should have killed him in minutes, but here was Rasputin alive and annoyed that there were no women at the party. Yusupov excused himself, went upstairs to the other conspirators and said, "The poison isn't working. We have to shoot him." And so Yusupov took a revolver, went back downstairs, and while Rasputin was examining an ornate crucifix on the wall, Yusupov aimed at his chest and fired. The shot rang out. Rasputin screamed, clutched his chest, and fell to the floor, blood spreading across his peasant shirt, and Yusupov checked his pulse. Nothing. He was dead. Finally dead. The conspirators came down, confirmed it. Rasputin was gone. They began celebrating, drinking, discussing how to dispose of the body, and Yusupov went back down to the basement alone to look at the corpse one more time. Yusupov bent over Rasputin's body, studying the face of the man who had terrorized Russia, and then Rasputin's eyes opened, his left eye twitched, then opened fully, staring directly at Yusupov, and then both eyes snapped open, and Rasputin lunged, grabbed Yusupov by the throat with superhuman strength, began strangling him, screaming, frothing at the mouth, and Yusupov was screaming too, trying to break free. Rasputin was alive, impossibly alive, shot in the chest, and he was attacking, choking the life out of his assassin. Yusupov finally broke free, ran upstairs screaming, "He's alive! Rasputin is alive!" And the other conspirators thought he had gone mad. But then they heard it. Footsteps, heavy breathing, and Rasputin appeared at the top of the basement stairs, blood-soaked, eyes wild, and he ran out into the snowy courtyard, crawling on all fours like an animal trying to escape. And Purishkevich grabbed another revolver, chased him outside, and shot Rasputin in the back. Rasputin fell, but kept crawling, so Purishkevich shot him again, and again, and again. 4 shots total, 2 in the back, 1 in the head, and Rasputin finally stopped moving, collapsed in the snow, and the conspirators stood there in shock, breathing heavily, staring at the body. But they weren't taking chances anymore. They beat him with clubs, smashed his skull, kicked him repeatedly. Yusupov took a heavy object and struck Rasputin's head multiple times, making sure, absolutely sure he was dead this time. And then they wrapped his body in a heavy curtain, bound it with rope, and drove to the frozen Neva River, found a hole in the ice, and threw Rasputin's body into the dark, freezing water. And they went home, shaking, traumatized, but convinced that finally Rasputin was dead. 3 days later, December 31st, 1916, police found Rasputin's body frozen in the ice of the Neva River. They pulled him out, and the autopsy revealed something that would become legend, that would haunt the conspirators for the rest of their lives. The cause of death was not poison, not the gunshot to the chest, not the 3 gunshots to the back and head, not the beating. The cause of death was drowning. Rasputin's lungs were filled with water, which meant when they threw him in the river, bound and wrapped, shot multiple times, beaten, he was still alive, still breathing, and he drowned under the ice, trying desperately to free himself. Scratch marks were found on the underside of the ice where his hands had clawed, trying to break through, trying to reach air. And this final detail, this horrible final detail, transformed Rasputin from a corrupt mystic into something else, into a legend. The man who could not be killed, the man who survived poison that should have killed 20 men, who survived being shot in the chest, who came back from the dead to attack his assassin, who survived being shot 3 more times, beaten with clubs, and was still alive when thrown into a frozen river. The conspirators were arrested but never punished. Prince Yusupov was exiled. He spent the rest of his life telling the story, writing books about that night, and always with a tremor in his voice when describing Rasputin's eyes opening, that moment of pure terror when the dead man came back to life. And Russia fell apart within months. The February Revolution of 1917 overthrew the Tsar. The Bolsheviks seized power. The entire Romanov family was executed, and many Russians believed, truly believed, that it was Rasputin's curse, that he had prophesied if he died, the dynasty would fall within a year, and it did, almost to the day. Today, more than a century later, scientists debate how Rasputin survived. Some say the cyanide was old and degraded. Some say his stomach acid neutralized it. Some say he had built up immunity from small doses, but none of that explains the rest. The coming back from death, the superhuman strength, the surviving under the ice. And so the legend persists, the legend of Rasputin, the mad monk, the man who controlled an empire, and the man who simply would not die, no matter how hard they tried to kill him. This was Rasputin, the mystic who wouldn't die, the man who survived poison, bullets, beating, and drowning, and the legend that terrified a nation. Welcome to Veil of History, where some men refuse to die, no matter the cost.